Do cowboy romances make you say yeehaw? Are you interested in hearing about 5 4-star Western romances? Hi, my name's Bea. Welcome to my channel, Mama Needs to Read Romance, because nobody in a book like this is going to pick all the flowers out of the garden. So last month I did a Try the Chapter challenge for pirate romance, and it was such a fun time that I decided to try to do this every month with a different subgenre of romance. And so this month I picked Westerns. I am so excited, and I'm doing contemporary Western specifically. I realized there's like historical Western and contemporary Western, and since I've been so heavily historical so much of the time so far, I thought, let me just try contemporary. So here's how this is gonna go. I'm gonna tell you about 5 books. I tried to pick 5 very different things. I went on Goodreads and found books that were all considered 4 stars and above. We're gonna go through all 5 really briefly, and then I'm going to read one chapter from each book, and at the end of that, I'm going to decide which one is the one I'm going to read and review at the end. I hope this helps you decide if Westerns are for you, and if you know they are, maybe it'll give you some ideas for books that you could read. I'm gonna start with Calder Storm. It's of the Calder Saga, number 10. Why am I doing number 10? Because that's the one that I could get for free from the library. It's by Janet Daly, and it got a 4.21 on Goodreads. It follows a gentleman named Quint Echohawk. He's technically a Calder, I guess by birth, but his last name is Echohawk. So I'm wondering if maybe he has some roots in Native American heritage, which is kind of cool. They have a ranch in Texas, and apparently there's a rival ranch owner who's doing everything he can to try to bring down the Calder Ranch. So Quint goes undercover as a cowboy at this ranch to try to figure out, I'm not sure what he's trying to figure out. He's trying to determine whether or not, I guess, the rival ranch owner is the one that's causing all the problems with their ranch, but he's gonna figure it out. And while he's undercover as a cowboy, which undercover as a cowboy, sign me up right now, that sounds so cool. He makes some friends on the ranch, and of course he finds a little love with a girl named Dallas, of course. So it sounds like there's plenty of fighting and action and romance and definitely getting Wild Wild West vibes. So this can be good. Okay, so I was not sure if I should include this, but it's contemporary, it's Western, and I've not read it yet. Nicholas Sparks' The Longest Ride. I know this was a movie with, I believe, Clint Eastwood's son, and that guy's cute, let me just say. If I read this and love this, I'm gonna watch the movie too. It looks like it could be kind of sad, which is a lot of Nicholas Sparks. I love his books, but I haven't read anything in a while. One reason I love so many of his books is it reminds me of my childhood. Well, when I was a teenager, we lived on the coast in North Carolina quite a bit. And so a lot of his stories really remind me of that time of my life, which is so fun to revisit. But now it appears we are in the West, and we have an older gentleman named Ira who is in a car accident and he's dying. And the ghost of his wife materializes beside him to help him try to stay awake by reminding him of the life that they once lived together. And so there's probably gonna be a lot of poignant memories, and yeah, so it's gonna be emotional, which is not my usual go-to. And then we also have that juxtaposed with a girl named Sophia and a guy named Luke. She is working at a bull riding event, and so she and Luke start to fall in love. And somehow these stories are all going to coalesce together, and it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, Nicholas Sparks is such a good storyteller, so I might end up going with this if I'm interested in an emotional journey. I have the audio version from my library, and of course I picked this up for 25 cents from a used book sale. So I spent 25 cents, but being able to read a physical copy and listen, pretty cool. And this got a 4.15 on Goodreads. I got my Kindle out for this one. This is a Kindle Unlimited, and it is called Gathering the Sun, a Whiskey River West series book. It's number 1 in the series, and it got a 4.83 on Goodreads, which I've never read a book that high ever. However, it's only got 30 ratings, so it's not very heard of until now, or maybe a couple more people will hear of it through my video. I do try to keep that in mind. If there's a very small number of people rating it, that could skew the results a particular way. But still, 4.8, I mean, that's pretty cool. So this guy sounds like he's a little quiet cowboy and maybe a little gruff. I mean, I guess that probably comes with the territory when you are a cowboy. Honestly, I didn't think about that until just now. He has a son, an 8-year-old boy. He's a single dad. He meets a girl named Greer, who is a substitute teacher. Her father is a land grabber, apparently. Like, I think he's illegally trying to take the lands away from River, the main gentleman in this story. And then it escalates into like cattle rustling and arson. Greer's dad is a bad guy. So it's sort of a enemies to lovers, and it sounds interesting. I don't know how likely I am to read this, but we shall see. Here comes another one I was a little nervous to include because I was afraid it would predispose me to pick this one immediately because it's Lisa Kleypas. I've never read a contemporary romance by her before, so I'm really excited. This is also the first of the Travises series, so I was very intrigued. I got this for $1 at a library sale, despite the fact that I don't think it's ever been read. And I'm quite excited about it. But as Tiff was saying in Tiff Talks pages, the hardbacks can be kind of a weapon. If they fall on your face when you're reading, ouch. So I'll have to be careful if I end up choosing this one and reading more than just one chapter. It got a 4.01 on Goodreads. I love the names of the characters in this book. We've got Hardy Cates. He's a gentleman who is in love with a gal named Liberty Jones, who is a single mom. And this is a love triangle, which I've never read from. I don't think I've ever actually read a legit love triangle. And I've never read one from Lisa Kleypas. I know that's true. And you know what? It's so funny talking about glossy. Sam of Sam Reads a Little was so right. She was talking about the annoyance of how it can. I didn't even notice that, Sam. Anyway, she's totally right. The glossy makes it hard to not have bouncing off of light from the ring light. Sorry. Anyway, back to this. So Liberty Jones finds a sugar daddy, a billionaire tycoon who's willing to sort of take her in. Somehow through her relationship with him, she finds out more about her past and her family. But there's a love going on, which is hence the name Sugar Daddy. And he's giving her everything her heart could desire. But then I'm guessing this is Hardy Cates over here, who loves her but could never have her. For some reason, we're not sure. And this is set in Texas. Yes, so I'm looking forward to trying this one out too. My last offering is also from the library for free. I found an audiobook on there and I'm really excited. It's Carolyn Brown, who I last read The Matchmakers on Audible Plus. It was a 2-hour bit of rom-com fun, and now we are in the West, and this is part of Spikes and Spurs #4, the series. And this one's called One Hot Cowboy Wedding. It got a 4.26 on Goodreads, which is quite high. And it's got almost 2,000 ratings, so I'm still impressed. I have to read this to you, by the way. This is hilarious. A marriage made in Vegas. Hunky cowboy Ace Riley wasn't planning on settling down, but his family had other plans for him. The only way to save his hide and his playboy lifestyle is to discreetly marry his best friend, Jasmine King. Can't possibly last. Feisty city girl Jasmine was just helping out her friend. That is until their first kiss stirs up a whole mess of trouble. A whole mess of trouble. And suddenly discretion is thrown to the wind. One hot cowboy, one riled up woman. She's riled up. And they'll be married for a year, like it or not. I know that accent was probably all over the place regionally speaking, but I had to do it. This looks fun, just like the other Carolyn Brown I read. It just looks like a good time, and so I'm really looking forward to it. We know the 5 books, so now I'm going to read one chapter from each of the 5. We'll talk a little bit about each one, and then I'll pick the winner. Ride 'em, cowboy. No. I'm going to start with Janet Daly's Calder Storm, and while I do that, listening, I am going to be shopping for school supplies. Well, that was terrible. I'm very happy that I don't need to shop for school supplies again for another year, because I think it's going to take me that long to get over it. Not my favorite activity. While I was doing it, I was listening to Calder Storm, the prologue, and chapter 1. I will say that the prologue was pretty exciting. We've got this aging, bitter, angry patriarch. His last name is Rutledge. He's got a ranch going in Texas, and he hates the Calders. There's a story that just broke where Quint Echohawk killed his son Boone, and Rutledge is furious. Now, there's a guy that works for Rutledge who's basically implying that Echohawk was acting in self-defense, and Rutledge is saying, no, he didn't. He killed my son, and he's gonna pay for it. That was pretty exciting, and I will say that was way more exciting than chapter 1, which is a lot of exposition, which, I mean, what can one expect in the 10th book of a series? You know, they're just kind of updating on various family members, and it all sounds very nice. The Calder family are going to a road rodeo, Trey Calder, who is like really cute. And so finally when he walks in, I was like, okay, here we go. Here we go. Not just exposition from 9 previous books. He is excited to attend the rodeo with his family. They might buy some steers, which are cows. This is all new to me. I have no background. I'm an East Coast girl. I have zero background in the West or cowboys or anything like that. He bumps into a gal when they encounter one another in the motel. There's this primal connection that they notice, and he's looking into who she is and he doesn't know. And that's the end of chapter 1. So, I mean, not super exciting. I mean, the prologue was, but you know, I don't know. I'm very excited to check out the other 4 books before making my decision on which one to read. Getting stuff done around the house, listening to The Longest Ride. So The Longest Ride is life. So we are all on the longest ride, everyone, just so you know. This book, I can tell it's typical Nicholas Sparks, fantastic storytelling. We are hearing all about Ira. He's in his 90s and he's recalling his beautiful life. But typical Nicholas Sparks, it's very melancholy and very sad. Like, it's very deep, talking about his life growing up and meeting his wife for the first time. But he's reflecting on this in between bouts of unconsciousness because he's gone off of a highway in North Carolina after it started snowing. He is now being kept awake by having a conversation with his late wife. And there's a lot of reflecting on their family fleeing to North Carolina from Germany right before World War II. So there's talk of the Holocaust. There's talk of how difficult it is for them coming to the United States in the late 30s, which, if you know the history over here, it was at that time the Depression. The reason he's even driving is so he can go where they had their honeymoon, as he does it every year. And she says, well, you know, our honeymoon was in August and you're going in February. And he's like, I'm not going to tell her that the doctors don't expect me to live until August because he has cancer. So I'm not sure I'm going to pick this one. I think I want a little more fun in my off time. I was just finishing up listening to the first chapter of One Hot Cowboy Wedding by Carolyn Brown, and it was very different from what I expected. I listened to her 2-hour matchmakers and it was pretty tame. It was a bunch of old ladies on a cruise ship trying to set up a couple. This is very different from that. There is a lot of cursing, so much so that immediately I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta get my AirPod in. This is Ace and Jasmine, I believe her name is, and they are headed to Vegas. They get married in the first chapter. It turns out that he is only allowed to inherit his family's ranch if he's married, according to his grandfather's will. And Jasmine is happy to help him do that, but they have to keep it a secret. And unfortunately, it's not kept a secret because they were the 5,000th couple to get married at this particular chapel. So now it's out and in the open and all their friends and family are gonna find out. So that's not good. It seems really cute actually, and it's a little bit racy, not just cussing, but it's also like how they're feeling about one another. And I was just surprised, but I think it might be the perfect vibe for like a cowboy western ranch. She actually owns a diner in this small town in Texas, so they're gonna be heading home from Vegas soon. He's got curls that he has gel in his hair to try to keep the curls at bay. She's wearing a tight little T-length dress that's white with a sash, and she's got a white Stetson cowboy hat with like a train going down the back, which is just perfect for a cowboy wedding. So this looks like it's got some good promise. It looks fun, flirty, funny, a little bit racy, so I'm definitely gonna have to do my AirPods the whole time if I listen to this. This has some promise for a fun summer read. Well, while my son was in speech and OT, I had a chance to read in the van for a little bit, and I read the first chapter of Sugar Daddy by Lisa Kleypas. I really thought it was great storytelling. It's about this young girl named Liberty. She's in this trailer park living with her mom and her mom's new boyfriend. She is trying to just get acclimated to her new life in Texas, and she's befriended by this young boy. He's 17, she's 14, and his name's Hardy. He's gorgeous, and he's got Wrangler jeans on and cowboy boots. He saves her from a couple dogs that were going to attack her, and then he takes her to the head of the trailer park, who's like, this guy's a bad guy. And so Hardy's being very protective of her, but she is quite nerdy and she is falling for Hardy already, and he tells her that he's not the best guy around, but he just seems like he's a very sweet person. It's really promising in terms of a story and where it would go. I know that I was a nerdy 14-year-old girl once myself, so I totally feel like I understand how she feels about a gorgeous 17-year-old guy. The thing is, I don't know, at least not yet, I'm not getting big country western vibes. I mean, yeah, that they're in Texas, but this is probably more starting to feel like small town versus like western. So I don't know if it's gonna fit the bill, but it looks like a good story regardless. I also had a chance to read a little bit on my Kindle while I was waiting for my son, and oh no. So I got a chance to read the first chapter of Gathering the Sun, Whiskey River West, the first book of the series, which is of course after another series. It's very involved already. There's a family tree with a lot of branches to know because of this other series that it came off of. There's also a whole playlist that the author listened to while she was writing the story. She also has like his tattoos and what they mean. It's all very involved. So this woman is very, very invested in her characters and their backstories and the whole vibe. And I thought that was really cool. The writing though, I found a little bit to be desired. There were certain points that I was sort of confused because she was just using the pronoun him or he like in a whole paragraph referring to like 4 different guys, and I was like, what? But we're following a guy named River. He is with his 8-year-old son. He's a single dad. I got the impression that his wife was killed, and I'm not even certain that this is actually his biological son, but he's a really, really good guy, and he's always going to do the right thing by his son Granger. And he has moved to Texas to take over a ranch that's actually his. They were able to purchase it through his family, and he feels really good about that. And he's just willing to do whatever it takes for his son. And Granger still suffers from nightmares, and they need to get therapy for him, which River is absolutely wanting to do. And at the end of chapter 1, we find out that Granger's new teacher, a substitute teacher, is actually the daughter of a neighboring ranch hand who is a very, very bad guy and has been trying to take the ranch away from River's family for quite a while. He's kind of curious to see how this is going to play out with this woman being Granger's teacher. So I'm getting big time Western vibes. I mean, they're on a ranch, they're trying to tame horses, they're talking about their cattle, but I just don't know if I can get past this writing. Like I said, all the pronouns, but then also here's a sentence. She sure got a nice pair of double trouble sitting on her chest. Oh my. So it is decision time. What are we gonna pick? Let me knock out the dramatic, emotional one first, because that's really not what I'm going for this summer, although it's a good story. I'm not gonna be able to pick The Longest Ride right now. And while Calder Storm definitely sounds like it could be Western, it looks like there's a lot of angst and animosity. I'm not going for let's seek revenge type thriller romance, so I'm gonna knock that Calder Storm one out as well. And while Gathering the Sun looks like it's got some good potential, it's definitely super Western, people really love it, there's a lot of backstory. River seems like a great protagonist, he really does, but I'm just not clicking with the way the writer writes. So I'm gonna knock out Gathering the Sun as well. I'm down to 2, and they're both authors that I've already read before, and I know that I like. So of course we've got Lisa Kleypas, Sugar Daddy, and Carolyn Brown with the One Hot Cowboy Wedding. So Lisa Kleypas, you know I love her. She is terrific, and this sounds like a compelling story, but not the Western vibes I'm going for, so I'm gonna knock that one out, surprise, surprise. And I'm going with One Hot Cowboy Wedding by Carolyn Brown. It looks like it's gonna be a nice, light, fun, airy Western romp, and I'm here for it. So let's do it. The next time you see me, I will be able to give you my review of One Hot Cowboy Wedding. Okay, so I did it while I was sick. I actually had COVID during most of this. I did cheat, actually. Not only did I read One Hot Cowboy Wedding, I also accidentally read this. I say accident, I mean, look at this thing. If I were to get stranded on the side of the road, I would put this on the hood of my car or like behind the car to alert people that I needed help. Having this sitting next to me while I was sick, I was like, well, I'll just read a chapter. I'm gonna go in order, and you can drop out whenever you want, but to follow the rules, I'm gonna talk first about the one that I officially picked, which is, of course, One Hot Cowboy Wedding. I give this book 3 stars. It was a little two-dimensional. I feel like the author was mainly interested in events. For the first half of the book, it was all about wedding prep, because even though Cole is supposed to be the enemy here because he wants to take the ranch away from Ace, The real villains in the first half of this book are absolutely the mothers of both Ace and Jasmine. Oh my gosh, they were the worst. And they were talking about how they needed to have another wedding. And then it was all wedding prep and wedding planning, to the point where it was like, I now know how long certain flowers need to be in the fridge before the ceremony. It was a lot of detail, and there was quite a bit of loving, none of which I felt was very detailed, which is fine, but it was very much like, and then we did it. And I was like, is it hot for you? Oh baby, it was hot. It was very like, okay, interesting. There was a lot of them being turned on by one another a lot of the time. And because they both were fighting their feelings for one another, and because they thought the other one didn't really feel that way, there's a whole ton of, no, we can't. No, I can't do it. No, let's not do it. Okay, we did it again. Oh no. Like, so that's fun if you love to see people trying to fight their feelings and trying not to make love and then keep accidentally doing it. I mean, it was fun, especially if you're not feeling well or you don't feel like you have more than 2 brain cells to rub together, because it really didn't ask very much of you at all in terms of figuring things out or paying attention. For me, as being sick, listening to this was just what the doctor ordered. I listened to an hour a day and I was like, okay. Every time I was like, well, that was another hour. So, I mean, it was fun. I have zero interest, though, in reading any more from the series. And I thought the author was fine, but this is my second foray into Carolyn Brown. So probably for me, I don't know that I would try any more of her because I just don't find it to be that, like, amazing. So given what you're looking for, this could be the perfect read. You can leave now, or if you want to hear what I thought about this, hang out. So, Sugar Daddy, I gave this 2 stars. I feel like this was more women's fiction than romance. So also, trigger warning on this. There's things like a main character dies, there's a lot of funeral prep, a lot of stuff that was kind of hard to get through, but that was the worst of it. The book is supposed to be about Hardy, and yet Hardy is missing for a lot of the book. And I spent a lot of the book going, where's Hardy? Where is he? I need to know. And so I was very frustrated a lot of the time. And quite frankly, I didn't like the way that it ended. Now, that's not to say that it wasn't a happy ending. And a lot of people, I read some reviews, were very pleased with the ending. But for me, didn't love it. Not the way that I wanted it to end. And apparently the things that I didn't like about it are being rectified in the following book. So guess what I'm reading now? Against my better judgment, Blue-Eyed Devil, which is the next book in this series. And I will say, trigger warning, there's all kinds of assault and abuse, and it is hard to get through. But I'm like, but I really want this one particular character. I really want to see this person happy. And apparently this person really comes through, but it's book number 2 of me being like, where's Hardy? Another book about Hardy, and where is he? So, but I'm about 30% of the way through right now. I've heard that this is a better book, so I'm giving it a shot. This has been a very interesting experience. I have enjoyed my time in the West. I think I'm okay not being a big Western reader going forward. I mean, I really enjoyed trying this out, and I'm looking forward to my next Try Chapter Challenge next month, which is going to be football romance. And September is the month where football starts, I believe. I don't know enough about football to know, but I'm pretty sure football starts in September. I hope that you are doing well. Thank you so much for hanging out with me this long. I hope you're enjoying whatever it is you're reading, whether it's Western or not. Thanks so much. Take care and bye.